everyone, I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to the 6th episode of Strengths of Being Dyslexic in Golf. As you can see, it's just me and Neil today. We've got no special guest speaker. Reason for that, we thought it would be a really good opportunity just to do a little bit of reflection time just before we can hopefully return back to golf on the 29th of March, which is only in a few weeks' time. We're so excited about that. So yeah, pretty much this week, we're going to do a bit of reflecting, sharing a bit of our experience the last few weeks, getting ready for our return. And then, yeah, let's just see where the conversation flows. So how have you been this week, Neil?
I'm very productive. Itching to get, especially when the weather's like this where it is now, it's just like a nightmare, isn't it? I want to wait to get out and go on the golf course. Yeah, just contacting my regulars, pupils for lessons. Getting organised ready for the 29th, which is the big day. Yeah, so that's what I've been up to really. Apart from a few things, which I just wanted to talk to you about, is the conversation we've had during all these episodes. I'm definitely getting a lot more confident in myself and my own ability, and listening to other people and using your advantage of being dyslexic and using that so that I have that creative mind. I've really run through with it. And I've got a lot of things on the project. So some people, I don't want to sort of shout out too much about it, but I've got a lot of things in the loop. And I'm just using my creative brain really with it. And it's proven to be really the self-satisfaction out of it I'm getting a lot out of it. So yeah, it's just because of obviously getting to know you, Leah, and what you've kind of helped me understand to be a lot more get more understanding of being dyslexic and using the strengths of it really, I think. So
oh, brilliant. That's really, I'm so pleased to hear that. We've only been talking to each other probably just over a month now because of that initial Zoom meeting that our friend Paul Ring, shout out to you, Paul, bringing us together. And it's really touching to hear that you feel that your confidence has gone up and you're now looking to expand into new projects because you've found this confident from speaking with myself and all the others. I think everyone we've had on so far have certainly helped build my confidence as well, and starting to see a community now come together and come out and share their stories. I don't think there's anything better than that. I think that's what I've learned in the last few weeks, is to find out how many golf pros in our industry have dyslexia or other learning difficulties, and just hearing their journeys, so drawing parallels, similarities to our journey to them, differences. But one thing that's definitely come out of it is we've used our learning difficulty to our advantage. We've made it into a strength and actually all thriving and have relatively successful businesses. I think that's the big thing that I'm starting to see, is how much dyslexia and other learning difficulties are just not a disadvantage in any way, shape or form. I think that's been awesome. I don't know if you have drawn that and agree.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, thanks for all the guests that you've had on, and they really have shown that they are going places because of they're realizing their strength. They've learnt their weaknesses and also learnt their strengths, and just elaborated on their strengths and taken on from there. I remember Craig last week was saying about how he learns things, and he's got his coach to do the swing for how he wants to do it, and so he was watching him, and then he was sort of like I
think the fact that we've had to be vulnerable from such a young age and really face these difficulties has actually made us all stronger characters later on in life. And the one thing I'm starting to get, although there are some fears, we're also not fearful at the same time. So there's certain things that have held us back, or confidence could be a bit low, but generally speaking, we've got very good at kind of pushing that fear aside and finding a solution in a way to still propel us forward. I think without a doubt, we're starting to see this pattern emerge, of how hardworking we all are, because basically we have to. We have to maybe work 10 times, 4 times as harder to get, as Craig said, sometimes the same result, but actually most of the time a better result. So if I was an employer, you're going to find someone who is employable and loyal because they're going to work really, really hard because they have a sense of pride. So yeah, definitely seeing that as we're hard workers, we're great problem solvers. Because we normally end up making the problem first, but then we find a good way of getting out of it. So that's definitely something I'm seeing. Creativity is off the scale. That's definitely what I've seen with dyslexic people, is how creative we are. We think of completely outside the box, and an avenue that is just so out there, but actually is what gives us the edge. I had a wonderful seminar last week with the Ledbetter Group. It's not sponsored by Ledbetter, I swear. And a guy called Steve Askell, amazing shout out to him as well, who just actually explained to be really successful in a business, or if you're self-employed, is making sure you have a USP, something unique about you. You stick out from the crowd. Don't be someone who can just coach from, complete beginner to elite player. You can't do it all. And I think that's where we come into our own, is we've already found this unique way of doing things, which is why we're able to channel and go off on these ventures. And even if it doesn't work, we then find a way to adapt to move on to the next thing. That's definitely one thing I've seen in the last few weeks, a pattern emerging, for sure.
Thinking dyslexic is our USP.
I think so, yeah. Why not? Let's make it a USP. And it's about to shout and be proud of it, because it's not a negative thing. It's just, it was made into a negative thing because it needed to, as my friend Naz explained, we needed to fit into an ideal to, back in Victorian times, Industrial Revolution, we had to fit in this ideal because it suited the big wigs at the top at that particular time. Whereas now that's not necessarily the case. So actually, we're going to start changing it. And if you are dyslexic, so what? Yeah, tell the employer I'm dyslexic. And actually, you would be a fool not to employ me because I have these skills, which is what the job requires, especially our field. We have to be good at talking. I think we've established we can do that, especially me. Okay, so good communicators with people. I'd say generally, we're gonna be very good verbally communicating. Okay, written stuff can be a bit more of a challenge. However, already we've gone through ways we get around that. So the use of technology, I mean, especially this last week, like yourself, I've been very busy trying to reconnect with all my clients, letting them know and updating them of what's happening from the 29th of March. And okay, it's taken me probably a little bit longer than other people out there to write the email, check the email, get someone else to double check the email before sending it.
You know what?
But it does.
Sorry.
Yeah, go for it. No. I just mean it didn't mean that I couldn't feel that challenge. It just, I use the technology to help me.
What I was going to suggest is that I've now found out how to talk. When you do it on your phone.
Yes.
Is that you can do it on your? Can you do it on your laptop?
Yes, I think you press the function button twice.
Okay,
is that right?
Yeah. I've learned how to do that now, so I've got that.
So it's predictive, absolutely. So anyone watching that on your laptop or MacBook, there's like an FN. I think if you double tap
double press control on the Mac. I don't know what it is on the old Windows.
I think it's the FN. You press it twice. It looks like a picture of a globe, I think. I'm sure if you YouTube it, maybe we should do that. We'll put it in there. But certainly, if you're in a rush as well, so I'm often got a million things on the go, you just talk into it and it types it out, and then you just adjust where you need to. But I actually used that the other day. We were sent a case study in our learning group of different experiences of kids learning how to play sport. And this case study was 20 pages long. There was a lot of writing, a lot of words, scientific words in there. And I knew I was going to struggle to read that it was going to take me a long time. So all I did, there is a function on your iPad that reads it out for you, or you just copy and paste and shove it into Word and then click play. There is a function. So then it read it out to me. So like a Kindle, perfect. I managed to listen to it in 45 minutes, knew what was going on. So then I could join in with the group chat. Otherwise, I'd have been there for ages trying to read it. Time I've read it. everyone's already talking about it, and I kind of missed the boat for that conversation. So I think anyone who listens to this and you have these issues like us, there are 100 ways around these things, which then keeps you in the loop. So therefore it's not a disadvantage. You've just had a different way of getting the answer.
It's use how we thinking is that if you feel that you've got a hurdle in front of you, you instantly you've got that ability to, well, how do I get over it? It's that problem solving sort of things. It's like as soon as you feel that you've gotten into a hurdle, right, how else can I, and it's kind of like that's the process I'm sort of seeing myself doing, and it's ongoing, because obviously being dyslexic, writing and numbers, but I'll just get over it. In like you say, it's this problem solving. It's that sort of that brain problem solving. Was I going to say you said, but you talked about a community, and I've added myself to a lot of groups. You suggested what was it, a dyslexic?
So yeah, there's lots of groups out there. So one I was invited to join was the Dyslexia Uprising. By a guy called Will. When I send this to you, Will, we would like you to be a guest on here, who is very excited and trying to set up a project to help students at university. So, that further education, which is probably when you need it the most, that most hope, if you didn't get it down in the school system, as we've sadly discovered, still isn't that great at supporting children with learning difficulties. But he's on a mission to try and help kids at university level. I say kids, they're adults when they go to university, young people at university, to get the help they need to get their degree, which I just think is a fabulous thing. And I would love him to come on here and talk about his project. We'll try and get him on here.
The crowd, what was I'm on other groups as well as him, but I really find them, they're very quite uplifting, and sort of they have got a lot of other like hurdles, and we always sort of like talk about how we get over them, and sort of like that's how I learned the control, that the talking. I says I'm always trying to type, and I find it just I'm keeping sort of putting off stuff. If I've got to type stuff up, I just try to put it off. But with that, I'll get really sort of. So I would highly recommend sort of like you're building up a community, as you say. We've got a community out there. We're trying to sort of
definitely. And the more you do it, you realise you're really not on your own. Like there's so, as Nazda said, it's like 1 in 10 have dyslexia. That's a lot if you put it across the whole population of the UK. The world, and coming together and sharing just comical stories about what this once had to deal with that, and it kind of makes you feel a bit better about yourself if knowing that other people have had whoopsies. And you can sort of see the funny side of it. That's certainly what me and Naz do, is try and find the funny side of our faux pas. Although we don't find it too funny at the time, you have to have a level of humour with it, otherwise you'll self-destruct. And I think that's what's cool doing this, is we're starting to put the word out there as our mistakes, but people who don't have it also make mistakes. It's just a different type of mistake we make. We'll make a typo, or we'll miss a word, or miss a letter. Okay, in the grand scheme of things, that's not that detrimental. But for what we do make mistakes in, we make up for it massively in other ways. We'll correct it, we're honest. And I think we're more approachable and humanise the situation. We just show that we're human, it's okay, and we're not judgmental, which, others might not be able to do that. I don't want to come across like I'm slagging everyone else off who isn't dyslexic. That's not the case at all. Not at all. It's just trying to get that message out there that it's not a disadvantage. We're not different to anybody else. Well, we are everyone else, I should say. But we can, we're in this society and we have a lot to offer. Don't look at it as a negative thing. Try and look at it as a positive thing. And I think that's what I want. This is why I came to you with this idea, is to start changing that thought process. And hopefully younger generations maybe watch this and start to feel a bit more confident in their school days, and, making it clear that it won't last forever. And once you get past school and you've got what you needed, that's what Craig said, once you've got your grade that you need, the world's yours. You can do whatever you want with it. I mean, since GCSEs, apart from getting onto my PGA course, I don't think I've ever been asked once about what GCSE I had. Never. They're more interested in meeting me as the person and then watching me, maybe observe me, how I coach someone. That's what they're interested in, because that's what the job requires.
I remember my brother talking about, it's like when they've got, when an employee sort of looks for someone, or looks at, got the resume on there, basically when they've gone to university, it just shows that their ability to get over things, isn't it, or to have a challenge and then follow it through, in working on that project and following it through. It kind of shows that type of character, doesn't it, having that sort of accolade. It is
absolutely. And what's going to be really interesting, what's going to be interesting is, obviously with this COVID, you have a whole year group who could not sit their GCSEs last year, and they were suddenly just given a grade based on their mock exams and what their teacher thought they should have, which I think is very biased as an opinion, because if that had been me, I would have really flunked out on my GCSEs. My mock exams were dreadful, all D's, E's, C's. But because I had that time to prepare and found a way of getting ready for my exams, I actually turned it around and ended up getting all B's and A's and A stars in my GCSE. So if that had been me now, I would have really failed. And that has massive implications for some of these children out there. So it would be interesting to see what employers and universities are going to do with that lost year group, if you like. Will they just look down the grades, or are they going to start turning more to their experiences? So how many little paperboy jobs have they had? Have they done any experience with their dad in the workshop? Or because if I was going to expand my business and take on other coaches, is the grand scheme of things, especially with my tiny tots with PB Golf, I'm not so interested in what their grades are. I'm certainly going to be more interested in their character and how good are they with children. That's what it comes down to it with me, because that particular job requires that. You don't necessarily have to have a GCSE in maths and English. As long as you can put together an email, you can keep track of your finances to a point, or find an app that does it for you. And there's no interested. So it'd be interesting to see attitudes of things, whether they start going down the grade route or whether they look at other aspects when they want to go a bit further forward.
Interesting.
That's my thoughts. Always have a thought on the education system.
Well, your parents are teachers, aren't they? Or your mum is?
My mum's a teacher, she's a maths teacher, and she didn't feel great about the whole, saying what she thinks a student should have for a grade. Personally, because of my experience, I would have been a student that missed out heavily because of mock exams, which isn't the real thing. And that's kind of like golf. You need to have plenty of rounds and experience before you get to the final level, or what you're working towards. If you're playing a big major in the year, you have lots of practice rounds before you do the final major. That's kind of happened to some of those kids. So I do feel sorry for them. So if anyone watching this has any comments on that, I'd love to hear about it.
I do know a few who've gone through it. They're tremendous characters. In golf can really lift them up from having a sort of maybe a tough, challenging childhood. Golf can really sort of lift them up, and they can actually see a problem and they actually solve it in front of themselves, and to see them, smiling and enjoying it, it is, and I think not just only golf, but any other sport for that matter can help children with that way. But the ones that I do know, please get in contact us. It'd be great to hear their stories.
Definitely. I think that's what Craig and Ben really taught me, is how much their sport and golf helped their learning in school. So when they started playing sport, they were learning all these new skills, which then helped them retain more information academically. I think that missed a massive trick in this country, is the amount of kids drop out when they get to age 12 in sport in general, not just golf, just in sport in general, the dropout is about 70% of kids to stop doing sport when they get to 12 years old, which is secondary school. So there's lots of factors for that. One is suddenly when you go to secondary school, there is this massive pressure about, right, you've got to get your exams. These next 6 years will determine and shape your whole life. So, you know, sport, that's not going to get you anything. You need to just focus on maths and English, and the amount of physical activity they do in that week dramatically goes down. And then with that, just, you know, generally growing up, you know, going through changes and things being a bit more conscious, that stops kids and teenagers wanting to do sport. I think that's what's got to change a little bit more if we're going to keep kids interested in sport and in golf. But then again, it comes from top, from high up government trying to encourage that a little bit more, because we've seen the gains of how much better kids learn if they're doing a sport at the same time.
So what we've learned from Naz, wasn't it, was that she suggested about having so the schools obviously don't pay for because obviously but to have like a side off as well as classes at school is to have like Sunday schools or something like that, just to boost their, I think that's what
she was saying obviously it's very difficult to fund schools to do extra lessons within a school timetable, so Monday to Friday, but also, as we experienced, we got pulled out of certain classes to do these booster class, which didn't help confidence either. But if there was somehow some extra funding or support to do some additional tutoring on a Saturday or Sunday outside of school or after school, that could be the key of, you know, boosting or helping them get their grades. But I think what I would just like to say is, even if you don't get your grades at age 16, it doesn't mean that you can't get it later on, and it doesn't mean that you're not going to succeed. I think that is the big important message here for kids and parents. It really isn't the be all or end all at age 16 if you don't achieve it. It doesn't mean it's the end. You've got your whole life to work out what you're going to do.
Well, that's what I did. I've done college after school, and I've done that in greenkeeping, like horticulture, and then I came out of that and I started working for my dad at that time, and then wanted to go into sort of golf, and I'd done my PGA, and then realised that I need to have six season above, and I was missing like 2 or 3. So I've gone through some, and I think must have been about 21, 22 when I got through that, and I then topped it up with some English and maths C grades, and it was I think it was free. It was just all online. I had to go to the class, done all of this stuff, and it took me another sort of six weeks to pass it, and and now I had the right accolades to then go to do the PGA. And
exactly. Another hurdle. Slightly different later stage, and I think there's something in that, you know, teenagers and children, anyone before the age of 18, or for boys, it's that you keep growing until you're 22. Everyone grows at different rates, so your brain is developing at different times. So if you're just at that time, you know, your brain hasn't developed as fast as someone else, your efficiency in learning is not going to be as good. So once again, it's trying to put everyone in a standardized box between those ages, and that it doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. Kids go at their own rate and their own pace, and this is whether you have a learning difficulty or not. Your brain develops at different rates, so the amount of information you can retain is going to be different paces, which is why, you know, someone like yourself, when you got more to your 20s, was able to take on that task and retain that information probably better. So, you know, there's so many different factors, and I think that's just what I want to share is, you know, try your hardest, give it your best shot. But if you don't get there, don't worry about it. Don't stress. It will be okay. It will be absolutely fine. There's so many different ways you can go, and you are in control of what direction you want to go in. Once you leave school, you can do what you want. You can get there if you want it enough. Yeah. I think that's the big thing here.
You said something like, I might have something being dyslexic, where he says, like, as long as you enjoy what you're doing, or it turns whatever your hobby is into like a profession, isn't it? Or something. Did someone say about that?
I think Stuart was saying something along
That's
this.
it.
Your friend Stu, how he didn't do great at school, but he just took interest in the projects he liked and loved, and then made something out of it.
Yeah.
There's so many people out there. I mean, so Lord Sugar, Alan Sugar, he hasn't got a GCSE to his name, and look at him. He's a multi-millionaire. So for someone who completely flunked out in school, he's doing all right. Whether you love him or you hate him, he is doing all right for himself. And there's plenty of stories like that out there. So it's just trying to change attitudes slightly towards it, and just trying to change that kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Shed a different light on the situation. That's what we're trying to do. Is just that's what I want to do. And if we can just help one child out there have a less of a bad experience at school and feeling a bit low, then great. I've done what I needed to do. That's kind of where we are to it. So it's been good to kind of catch up. Neil, is there anything else you'd like to add? I think
we've said everything. I think it was a nice idea. This is a sort of consolidating all down, sort of like just having just a review about all our guests we've had on, I've really enjoyed it so far. Learning.
Well, I'm excited to keep hearing behind the scenes about your amazing project. I know a little bit, but I can't wait to see the developments now for the rest of the year, how you're going to unfold it. Just a massive thank you to all the guests so far. And if anyone watching this would like to join us anytime, we'd love it. It's an open forum. It's for anybody. It doesn't have to be just golf pros. If you just play golf and you want to share your story, or if you're a parent of a child with dyslexia, I'd love to have someone come on and share their experience as well. I'd give another angle to this. I think that would be awesome. Other than that, if you're getting ready for the 29th of March and you're in the Red Hill, Surrey area and you do want to book a lesson, please come and follow my page and give me a message. And Neil, I'm sure, where are you based again, Neil?
Salisbury. Yeah.
There you go. If anyone wants a lesson with Neil in Salisbury, give him a message. We can sort you out. So awesome, Neil. I look forward to checking in with you very, very soon in the next few weeks, and then back out there.
Yeah.